I know. I was just going to pull it up on my phone.
I took.
Oh, good. Okay.
They're
That's
here.
fine then. Great.
Okay, Dean, can you see the screen here?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Oh, everybody, I do apologize for the hassle of me having to do this.
Oh, that's okay. Let me turn up the volume.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Good evening. This is a meeting of the Fairfax County Wetlands Board. Call to order. Catherine Herman, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. 1 second.
I can do it. Frank Campbell. Present. John Collins.
Present.
Steve Chappelle.
Present.
Burkett. Larkin, I'm sorry.
Present.
Clyde Wilbur. Bert Kramer, I believe you're here by video, is that correct? Bert, can you hear me?
Yes. I hear you loud and clear.
No present. Catherine Herman, can you confirm we have a quorum?
Yes, we do have at least 4 more members tonight.
Very good. I'd like to welcome a new board member, Steve Chappelle. Steve, would you tell us something about yourself?
Sure, I'm a retired Army officer. I work for the Army now as a civilian, longtime Wharton resident, and a lot of my free time kayaking around Wharton.
Very good. All right. I'm going to open the public hearing. This is a public hearing on Wetlands Board permit for 4517 Carl B. Lane, Alexandria, Virginia Marine Resources Commission number 22-2162, tax map 110-3-1009A. I am Clyde Wilbur. I'm chairman of the Wetlands Board. When we're at the table, I think we just heard everybody's name, but let's do that again for the hearing.
Kim Larkin.
Clyde Wilbur.
Steve Chappelle, John Collins,
Brian Campbell.
And by video,
Dean
Bert
Costello?
Kramer. Just say you're present, Bert. Okay, very good, thank you. We also have staff from the county of Catherine Herman.
Huh?
And for VMRC, would you introduce yourself?
Mark Eversole with VMRC.
Very good. And just to confirm, we do have a quorum, is that correct?
Yes.
Say yes, very good. All right, does everyone have a public hearing agenda or agenda for the meeting? Or do they need one? So no action in that direction. I'd like to move to disclosure. Do any board members have any disclosures for this hearing or recusals? Hearing none, and I have none, I move on. For the chair, I'd like to state the Wetlands Board mission and purpose. It is the declared public policy of the Commonwealth to preserve wetlands to accommodate necessary economic development in a manner consistent with the wetlands preservation. Wetlands borders were established to protect the public interest, promote public health, safety, and the economic and general welfare of the Commonwealth, to protect public and private property, wildlife, marine fisheries, and the natural environment. The hearing that we're going to conduct generally is to receive staff input, to receive the applicant's explanation of their permit application, receive public input, and then to decide what board action to take. There are actually 8 steps in the process. The first is the staff report, followed by board questions, the applicant presentation, followed by more board questions, support statements, if any, opposition statements, if any, rebuttals by the applicant if they so desire. Then typically we would close the public portion of the hearing. Hearing would be closed. The Wetlands Board will then discuss and consider a decision, and then the entire process is closed. So the first step is to ask for the staff report. Catherine Herman, would you provide us with the staff report?
Sure. And I'm just going to do a quick summary, high-level discussion. Again, my name is Katie Herman. I'm the staff liaison for the Wetlands Board. Again, we're here to talk about this Tidal Wetlands Permit Joint Application at 4517 Carby Lane. This JPA requests the approval to impact approximately 100 linear feet of shoreline at the mouth of Doe Creek to construct a living shoreline to provide shoreline stabilization. Here is another closer in look at the parcel and the shoreline as it relates to the adjacent properties. Sorry for the color lighting issues. Again, another zoomed in photo. The subject property has that reddish brown roof with the covered pool. So we can see from this image that the adjacent properties have what I would say generally is a similar shoreline structure or revetment, riprap conditions currently. So this is an image of the existing conditions more or less at the site. Myself, at least one board member, and VMRC, and I think VIMS, the Virginia Institute of Marine Resources, visited the site in October. There is existing riprap on the site, and the date of that riprap placement is unknown, but we believe the house was constructed somewhere between 1976 and 1980. And the riprap is visible on the 1980 Fairfax County GIS imagery files. It is also unclear how the riprap has been maintained since 1980. The county, the county and VMRC have no previous wetland permit applications on file for this property. Subaqueous vegetation has not been recorded at this property since 2017. Rock from the existing armoring here will be reused in the proposed sill as much as possible, in addition to material that will be brought in as needed. So this project includes about a 100-foot long sill, which will be constructed to an elevation of 3 feet above the mean low water, so slightly less than 1 foot above the mean high water, and its protective toe on the riverside will be constructed flush with the existing grade. The sill will be open on both ends. Those openings are greater than or equal to 10 feet wide to allow for tidal exchange landward of the sill and prevent the trapping of aquatic species. The applicant has adequately designed the sill structure so that it will be a buffer for the shoreline from strong wave action that may result from the Potomac River. The placement and height of the sill will allow for tidal elevations to flow over top of the sill and will be constructed with the appropriate stone size and arrangement to reduce the impacts of wave action on the sill structure. Let's see here. Sorry, 1 second. This is just an image of kind of the longitudinal profile of the cross section of the entire sill. So if you're out on a boat out in the deeper waters of the mouth of Doe Creek and the Potomac River, this is what you would see looking towards the shoreline. Obviously, a majority of the sill will be underwater most of the time. If you look here, I know it's really hard and small to see, but the mean low water line is this lower darker line, and the mean high is this dashed line that hits about 2/3 of the way up. Again, the height of this sill is pretty much 2 feet high. And then you can see over here, there's going to be a dock that's going to be replaced with this separate a separate application that has been sent to VMRC. So that's one site of the project. Here are two cross sections, and again, I'm sorry, there's a lot of wonderful detail in the cross sections, but if for board members, you have the printouts of these, so hopefully that helps. But this is just to show, again, the example of how there is going to be some grading behind the sill. And so that shows that some of that change there in the vegetation. Hold on. Hey, Mark. Mark, can you mute yourself, please? Mark Ori, if you're up, thanks, Mark. Sorry about that. So anyway, moving on. The final proposed design is shown here with the landscaping aspect. So there's going to be various sets of zoned plantings proposed based on, again, the type of elevation and the amount of either water from the Potomac or other materials that are going to be included in this design. So if there are questions about the plantings, we can go through those in more detail. This again was just to give you guys an idea, a summary of what this is going to look like. So, and then I think the last image I have here is a nice rendering. I thought it was really helpful of the different jurisdictional impacts. The green area, so if you can see the green lines, they make kind of like a long polygon. That is the Wetlands Board jurisdictional impact there. So we can see that there. A few other things I just wanted to point out before we move on to questions and other discussion is, the applicant did look into a possible alternative to the proposed project, which really at this stage would be just to re-armor the existing riprap. However, this alternative would not provide the ecological and water quality benefits and would not be consistent with state and county codes that require living shorelines to be installed in areas that are suitable for this type of shoreline management approach. So I certainly appreciated that discussion in the application. I'll just make a few other notes. There are no impacts to navigable waters that would occur as the result of this project. Although the shoreline will be altered, this would be a temporary status. Within a year or two, the expanded vegetated wetlands will provide significant benefit to the ecosystem at this location on Doe Creek. And then, as I somewhat mentioned earlier, by regrading the shoreline and adding more vegetation at the shoreline and landward of the shoreline, previous erosion issues are expected to be resolved. And I think that's about it for my part of the presentation, or what I had prepared.
So, Catherine, did we have a VIMS report on this?
I did not ask VIMS for an official report. They did provide feedback to VMRC and me as the first set of comments that we provided to the applicant. But really, the comments we received from VIMS were just two bulleted items in an email, just asking the applicant for clarification on a few planting zone areas, and then also asking for clarification for the width of the openings on both sides of the sill, just so that we could 100% be sure we understood that width.
And was VIMS generally satisfied?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'd like to also ask VMRC, Mark, does VMRC have any comments at all on this?
No, sir. If you approve the project tonight, part of your jurisdiction, I'll send for the application. I'll ask for the application fee for our permit tomorrow. We'll run a public notice and should be able to issue you a permit within a couple of weeks.
So I'd like to turn to the board members. Do any board members have any questions for staff?
Are there any trees to be removed?
there are some, help clarify this maybe. Let me see if I can pull up. I don't think I included that image.
Yeah, the top there.
It's a slight breach of protocol, but we could ask the applicant that question. But the applicant step forward.
Yes, on the applicant, there will be 2 trees that will be cut down.
If I could for a moment, could you state your name
Yes, Elise Marcus, with Wetland Studies and Solutions.
and you represent the applicant?
Yes,
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, sir.
Please proceed.
I do not have the species on hand with me. Those are in our forward plans. The 2 trees that you can see here, sort of at the top of that hill slope, those 2 are proposed to be removed for the grading. That's outside of the shoreline project area. It's
So it's more upland from the wetlands jurisdiction.
Yes.
I have one. How long is the fetch here? I didn't get a good feel for like where this is versus what it, or out.
Some directions it's
Oh, yeah,
miles.
somebody's
It's
moving,
miles.
yeah, a long way.
It's forever.
Okay. I was just curious. I just wanted to see what that looked like for the breakwater.
Any other questions?
Katie, is there a time frame for the removal of the old pier and a replacement pier?
Good question, Dean. 1 minute.
The pier, the VMRC has approved the new pier, both the location and front of the pier. And as part of that project, I think Dr. Hudson can probably talk to that better, but when the new pier is installed, the old pier will be removed.
Any other questions from board members?
Some about the planting plan, but
We can
it's later.
do that later.
Okay.
Well, no, yeah, let's do it after the
Okay.
presentation. So I'm going to do a brief review of the Fairfax County Wetlands Board options. There are 6 that would typically be examined for a hearing of this nature. Option 1 would be to, and I would like the board members to consider this as you hear the other presentations today. Grant the permit as requested. That's option 1. Option 2, grant a modified permit. We can ask for a modification to the permit. Grant a modified permit with a bond that could be forfeited on the conditions of the permit are not met. Option 4 is to deny the permit altogether. Option 5 is to deny the permit without prejudice, which means allow for resubmittal. Option 6 is to leave the hearing open for 30 days with direction to the applicant to provide more information prior to final action. And I review these in part because of that last option. That will become apparent in a moment. So I'd like to move, would the applicant like to make a statement? We turn the lights back on. And you can use the podium if you wish. Let me make sure that the camera is looking at you.
Yeah, no, you're
Okay.
Yeah, 1 second. Elise, can you just hold on 1 minute? I need to reshare my screen. The joys of
And I'd love
technology.
to answer this question for you at the GPA. I get your answer next.
So would you state your name again? You're already sworn in.
Yes,
but for
Elise
this-
Marcus with Wetland Studies and Solutions. On behalf of the Hudson's and for me. The overall purpose of this project is actually a redevelopment, as shown in our nationwide permit and WPI applications. We're going to be removing existing impervious surface within the RPA, going back the footprint of the house and pool as part of the overall project. What we're here to talk about today is actually the living shoreline component. And so with this project, we've received the appropriate approvals from the Corps of Engineers with permission of Permit 54. And through the county, we determined that this is the best approach for the site due to its location, due to the existing wave energy within the project, area. And because of the potential erosion concerns, particularly, actually, when you're looking at this picture, maybe some other pictures that we can show, but on the left side, when you're facing the project, there's some significant erosion concerns if nothing is to happen in the area. As wave energy is sort of digging away. I know during the vegetated months, there is still vegetation occurring in this area, but if nothing is done, further erosion is expected to occur. So this living shoreline, as we all know, they're the preferred use for this type of work. There's significant benefits to doing living shoreline. The riprap that you're seeing all along the shoreline here. Obviously, it's creating habitat, it's reducing wave energy, preventing further erosion, as I mentioned. It's also an attractive living green space that we like to see along our shores in this area. So with that, I'd like to just leave it open for questions. I've got our engineers here to answer any design questions you might have. You can whatever.
Members of the board have any questions?
I suppose about the planting plan. Okay. Couple things. So when the existing pier is removed, you've got a seeded area that you plan on seeding there. Yeah, it's in the planting. I don't know. It's like squares or. Let's see. Oh, there you go. It's the little squares. It's noted as being seeded and strawed.
Yes.
But it's below the mean high water mark. So how are you keeping the seeds in place?
Over to you. Do I need to do the?
Yes. Could you state your name for the record?
Sure. My name is Ingrid Bauer.
Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
That is best practices from our planting gurus, so I don't have a great answer to your question.
Okay. I mean, there's just some other things that
We don't want to leave anything, bare.
Right.
So.
Okay. I was curious as to, seed versus plug in it instead.
Well, our problem here is that that is over existing riprap, and the fill is so little that there's really plugs aren't going to be feasible. So seed is better than nothing, and we're hoping they will take for that. We'll get some options that can kind of grow that direction.
Okay, so maybe like a coconut fiber matting on top of some large spaces. Okay. And the other thing was there's a couple species in A that are noted in the mid-tide range that, well, number one, a bunch of the indicator status that are incorrect on both lists. But anything that's below mean high water should be an obligate plant.
None of that is below mean low.
Mean high water. So they should all be obligate plants, just something to think about. There's a couple substitutions that should probably be made. The fox edge is not really appropriate, maybe for the edge above mean high water, but not, and right at mean high water, but not low. So you've got between mid and high. And I would move the Sagittarius latifolia to the mid to high range instead you've got in the lower range where it's deeper. So rigida would be better in that location. Just we just want to make sure that it works once and you don't have to go back out there and replant it. So I just want to make sure that just reconsider or just take another look at the plantings you've got there and the ranges that they typically are found in. That's kind of that was my only concern. Yeah, and this. Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Ms. Larkin has given you a couple of comments here. These are obviously not in your permit. Do you have any objection to what she suggested here? Okay, we'll find a way to deal this when we get to the permit approval. We'll find a way.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. Let's see. Would you be, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, did you have questions or something?
I do.
Okay, sorry.
That's fine. So, would you object to doing before and after photos and submit them? That would be great. Yeah, very good. And do you plan to have any post-construction certification either by your engineer or by any wetlands folks? So you wouldn't object to that being in the permit, I take it, because you're going to do it anyway. Okay, that's great. Lay some groundwork for everything else. So moving on, do we have any letters of support for this permit?
Yes, we did have one. I thought I passed it on to the board members,
Can you
so.
just briefly discuss it so we enter it into the record?
Yeah. Hold on.
All we need to know is the name and whether it was in support. For the record, unless. Well, Catherine is trying to find that. Is there anyone here who wants to speak in support of this permit?
I found it.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So the letter I received is from Joseph P. George, and I believe he is a neighbor of the Hudson family. And it is dated May 2nd, 2023. And he said in the first paragraph, again, I'm paraphrasing, summarizing, that he learned of the project and he's talked with the Hudsons about it. Sounds like he's very familiar with this part of the Mount Vernon area, that he's lived in this area for like multiple decades. And I'll quote this part. He said, there's no one in the community with a stronger affinity for this area of the waterway or a stronger desire to see it continue to improve. Over the years, our family has seen the waterway improve tremendously, and I'm happy to see that Dr. Hudson is proposing this living shoreline project to continue this trend and further improve the shoreline and the quality of the Potomac River. And then he kind of summarizes it by saying, I'm expressing my strong support for this project as it will improve the neighboring shorelines as well and will provide benefit for future generations.
Very good. Thanks to everyone who gave testimony in support. Let me ask that question again. Is there anyone here who wishes to oppose? Hearing none. So hearing status. Typically, we would close the hearing at this point, but there is the option to keep the hearing open if a board member wants to make a motion to do that. Do I hear any motion to keep the hearing open?
Mr. Chairman, this may be out of order, but I'd like to speak at the open tonight. I know I was out of the room.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you speaking in support or opposition?
I'm supporting the application.
Please state your name.
Linda Booth.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed. We're safe. We didn't close the hearing. We're safe. We didn't close the hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're just in time.
Yeah, well, I'll be very quick. But I just want to applaud the applicant for bringing this application forward. I think this is a terrific project. Some of you know I was on the Wetlands Board for, I hate to tell you, 30 years, I believe, almost. And I chaired it for many of those years. And this Wetlands Board was the first one in the state to adopt living shorelines as an approach to shoreline stabilization. So, and that was probably 2005 or something. Anyway, it's a little history. But living shorelines maintain natural processes and you know, are much more ecologically productive than hardened structures, hardened shorelines. And so, again, I'm really pleased to see this application, and I hope we get a lot more. So, Virginia has lost over 40% of its wetlands, and living shorelines are a way to restore some of those wetlands that we have committed to as a state with Chesapeake Bay agreements and otherwise. So thank you for bringing this forward, and I urge the board to approve it.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the hearing? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Very good. Anyone opposed? Hearing is closed. So now we have a discussion of the permit, and I typically would like to just run through the balance of public and private benefit and detriment, economic and environmental. So just a really short organization of that. We have from VIMS, in this case, tacit approval that this is the best available science. Any discussion of that? Do we all agree with that? Good. The next, is there a private benefit associated with this? I believe there is. Anyone heard comments in support on that? Is there a public environmental benefit? All agree, public environmental benefit. Is there public economic benefit? And I would point out that there is possible economic detriment to these kinds of projects, which would be the heating of navigation. But in this case, we have an opinion from staff that there is no impeding of navigation. So I don't think we have an economic negative impact or public detriment.
When we did breakwaters at Mason Neck with the Woodrow Wilson Bridge project, those breakwaters were created to provide fish habitat, young fish nursery habitat, and they've done so quite well. So that is an economic benefit.
It's environmental benefit.
Environmental benefit.
And
And economic.
but it's a fisheries as
yes,
well.
Yes, there is fisheries there. And actually the sturgeon are back.
Okay, so any more discussion of balance? Anyone would like to make a statement from the board? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a board decision. In reaching your decision, please consider the social, economic, physical, and environmental impacts based on oral and written testimony and the anticipated public and private benefit or detriment resulting from the project. So I went through the 6 options prior to this. The first is quite simple, grant the permit as requested. Already gone through the options. Do I have a motion to grant the permit as requested?
Grant permit as requested.
I have a second.
I'll second.
I think Stephen got this. Any discussion?
Does this take into
Sorry.
does this take into account the requested change of vegetation?
I'll move with the permit language in just a second, but I think we found a way to make it work.
Okay, so
Okay.
in this discussion, we're not approving the permit as applied. We're approving the permit as modified. But I need a motion in way of a substitute to approve the permit modified. Make the motion.
I made the first one.
You can make a motion, a friendly motion to modify.
I will make a motion to modify the rest of the
Okay. So, can you talk about the modifications you would like to make?
So the modification.
Wait, I'm sorry. I need a second.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I know it's weird.
That's all right. Sorry.
Go ahead. You're on.
So I've there's a motion to to approve it, and what I've done, just to,
Here, sorry, you gotta read the whole thing.
oh, sorry, based on oral and written testimony presented at this hearing, the anticipated public and private benefit resulting from this project will exceed the public and private detriment. Therefore, I move the Wetlands Board approve this application, Wetlands Board permit number WETLD-2023-MB-000001 and Marine Resources Commission number 22-1648. Subject, is that right?
No.
That's the wrong one?
I got it wrong.
2162.
Oh, sorry.
22-2162. Subject to the following conditions. The applicant shall meet the permitting requirements of all county, state, and federal laws and regulations, including but not limited to the county's Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance, the Erosion and Sedimentation Control Ordinance, and the floodplain regulations of the Fairfax County zoning ordinance. The applicant is not required to pay a mitigation fee. The applicant, and this is where I address the planting, the applicant or their contractor is encouraged to review and modify the proposed wetland planting plan as appropriate to achieve native tidal freshwater wetland vegetation and provide a copy of any changes to the Wetlands Board. A pre-construction conference with the permittee, the engineer of record, the contractor, and a member of the Fairfax County staff will be held on site within 7 days prior to commencement of the work and will include a discussion of the terms and conditions of the permit. This will be provided to staff for the days when construction is planned to facilitate inspection. Before and after photos documenting all aspects of the project shall be obtained and included in the project completion certificate below. The completion of construction at the completion of construction, the applicant shall provide a certification by the professional engineer of record that the project has been completed in accordance with this permit. The duration of the permit is for a period of 2 years. The Wetlands Board may grant additional time if a written request for additional time is filed with Fairfax County staff prior to the date of permit expiration with a suitable explanation for the need delay. 2 years after certification that the project has been completed in accordance with the permit, applicant shall provide certification by a professional engineer, landscape architect, or professional wetland scientist that the wetland plants have been properly maintained. If it is determined that less than 50% of the tidal marsh plants are surviving, then the applicant will undergo a replanting program to rehabilitate the area to the original proposed planting density and appropriate native plant species for the hydrologic conditions.
Do I have a second? Any discussion of this motion?
I'm sorry, I have a question
Yes.
for discussion. If it is determined that less than 50% of the tidal marsh plants are surviving, is that regardless of native or
Oh, I don't know. It says the tidal what marsh plant. That's a good question. Yeah, that's a discussion we should have.
Concerned about invasive species? May make a motion to modify.
The planted marsh plants are surviving. I'm
because I
thinking
want to
of-
leave the ability for volunteers.
True.
Native volunteers.
So just add the word native.
Yes.
Okay, so if it is determined that less than 50% of the native tidal marsh plants are surviving,
Or volunteers.
Or volunteers.
or volunteer, or native.
Native volunteers.
Catherine, do you got that?
Yes.
Make sure. Read it back so we know what.
1 second. Okay, if it is determined that less than 50% of tidal marsh plants or native volunteers are surviving, then the applicant will undergo a replanting program to rehabilitate the area to the originally proposed planting density and appropriate native plant species for the hydrologic
I think, I
condition.
believe it should say 50% of the native title
Oh.
marshal plants.
Okay.
Or
Volunteer.
native
volunteer.
volunteers. Surviving.
Natives in there twice.
Okay, got it.
I have a question on the motion.
Yeah.
I'm just,
It needs to be seconded first. We have a second for Brian's motion. Discussion.
I'm noticing that the application talks about the warranty where there is a warranty for 12 months after planting. I'm wondering how that interacts with the 2 years post here, and that it's by their application to have a longer warranty.
The 12 months in this motion?
No, it's in the application, I think.
It's in the application, it says landscape contractor should ensure minimum survival rate. Survival rate is less.
I would say the permit supersedes. Agree?
Yeah.
That's the purpose of a monitor. Right. Okay. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? You know, they say aye.
Aye.
Folks on the phone.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes and process is closed. Thank you very much. I know this seems cumbersome and formal. Just,
There are benefits to it. I'm all for it.
okay. Very good. The next item, you're all welcome to stay, but not required. Kevin Herman, I understand you have an update on joint permit applications.
Yes. 1 minute. Hold on. Let me just. Okay.
Yeah, we don't like to come see it when it's done. I'm gonna have to
Feel free.
Feel free.
I hope she wrote down all those plans. I was like.
Thanks.
Echo Glenda.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Alright,
That's great. I love it.
Kim, we'll be in touch about the plantings.
Yes. Yeah, I've got
When we
some
review it to try and get
suggestions.
through it.
So, yeah, there's some lizard tail too, maybe if the higher one would be a better substitute for the fox edge. So,
Definitely interested to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you guys so much.
Staples.
Thank you.
One
Thank you.
6 inch to 1 foot staples to keep them in because they'll float. Okay. All right.
We'll be in touch.
Well, all right.
We'll get it.
Okay.
Do float.
With plugs.
As soon as water comes in, yeah, when we do the stormwater ponds, we have to
Okay,
lower the water.
so let's get going here. So a couple other JPAs. I just wanted to mention quickly that we've got 2 applications on the agenda for public hearing for June 13th. I know there's been a lot of emails about different meetings and different dates and what applications are gonna be on what date, so I apologize for that. But that's where we are. It's been a busy couple months, so and we've got some applicants who want to get started on some things. So if you all have questions about what is coming for the June 13th meeting, please do not hesitate to call or email me. I'm hoping that some of this precursor information helps get you guys thinking about the applications before the public hearing.
Yeah, if we just have the numbers, we can pull them off of the MRC's website.
Yeah, and my emails have been including those blue links that say application, so hopefully that takes you to that space. Okay, so just so that everyone's clear, as a county staff member, I'm advising that this update is just a factual update on the applications, and that there's really not, it's not the intent have a lot of discussion or questions out on a application that is not within a public hearing. So I want to try to be clear about that. And obviously the public hearing on June 13th is the time and the place for that kind of conversation. I anticipate having the staff reports available for both of these applications to you all by May 30th. Oops, that's what I'm shooting for. Alrighty, so this is the first application. It's out on River Drive. So it is similar to the previous application that we saw in that it's got a really long fetch. The site is interesting in that, and I'll have more photos to present. There's more photos included in the application on VMRC's website, but there's an existing, in that center photo, there's an existing wooden bulkhead that is starting to show its age. I wouldn't say it's completely failing yet. There's.
Would anybody be opposed to turning this
Oh,
off?
Oh, sorry. I can do it. Sorry about that. So, yeah, there we go. So, and we probably saw this site right around high tide. So the water's up pretty far. But anyway, it is showing some signs of erosion. There is a brick slash, without having more photos to show you all right now, in front of me, there's a brick slash concrete wall that is further up from here. So,
You can see it in the center photo.
yes,
Yeah.
up in this area. So yeah, this is the fetch that we're working with. Okay, yeah. And then this is an example of just a couple of the erosion spots that the property owner has seen. Thanks. So what the applicant is proposing to do at this point is build a new bulkhead seaward side right up against the existing timber bulkhead. And again, their application speaks to this, that they're concerned that if they remove the existing bulkhead and try to replace it, that it could disturb the stability of that other wall. So they have included, this is their application at this point. And as you can tell, the mean high and mean low are pretty far down on the bulkhead. Those are those blue lines right there. This is the height of the bulkhead. This height from the top of the existing bulkhead to essentially the bottom of mean low, right below mean low, is 9 feet. So it's pretty high in that spot. Again, this is cross section B, so that's over here. That's looking this way. And then cross section A is over here. And cross section A, the height of the wall is about 7 feet.
Did we permit that bulkhead originally? Do we have any record?
You said the height of the wall or height of the proposed wall is?
It's going to be the height of the future wall too. Yeah. So.
So, Catherine, section A on the left-hand side there, what am I looking at? That it's not
Okay.
vegetated, is it?
No.
The wall, in front of the bulkhead.
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
I'm not sure if I have any additional photos of
So
that.
again, I'm not asking you
Yeah.
to resolve this, but could we ask the applicant
Mhm.
what that is?
Yeah.
Or provided wetland delineation.
That area is exceptionally long, is that correct?
Mhm. I mean, that's what they're looking out at. I mean, I could pull up Google Maps, but it's,
Yeah, so looking at the far right photo, that's probably what we're looking at there. Not,
yeah, I mean, I can't recall seeing plants.
Just when you, if you can, the staff work confirm that there are or not vegetated wetlands. Not getting a VIMS report on this one, are we?
No.
Is the applicant giving you the fetch distance?
I'd have to look in the application.
That would be something I'd like to do.
Okay. So anyway, again, just trying to give you guys a briefer on what's coming, and then,
So are they,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
so they want to put it, what, 2 feet, 1 foot in front and touching? How are they going to get rid of those braces that are on there? Yeah, I don't know.
I think they're gonna,
Or they
They're
want to
gonna
go beyond
remove
where the
them.
brace is?
They're gonna,
The new one.
the application pretty much shows all this.
Okay,
If
good.
you
All right, I'll
study
pull
it,
it
you'll
up.
see what they're
Okay.
doing. Their tiebacks, they're gonna put fill. The application is pretty clear.
Looks like they already put a ton of fill down there.
That's been there forever.
Has it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The question I had was, you made a statement, or you mentioned that, said that they're concerned about the structural integrity of the existing wall, which is why they're pushing it out. Is there any documentation contained in what we have that supports that? The structural integrity of the wall being delicate?
I don't think I have anything.
That's something that I'm asking for.
No, you can, we allow structures to protect from erosion. Reasonable to ask them for, documentation that either is existing or, and in particular, the potential failure of a bulkhead is something that we support. This is just we've had applications of this nature before where people have asked to, build the bulkhead seaward of the existing bulkhead. And so in past discussions, there's been discussion about whether it could be built landward. And so that is a discussion that is in the application. There's an argument for why. You can review that and make your own decision about it. There is substantial structure holding that bulkhead. It's not just a straight bulkhead. There's tiebacks and other structure that's, just highly.
I guess I'm curious why not replacing in place? Why go see?
I think if you read the application, you'll see the applicant's argument for that one way or the other.
Okay.
It'd be nice to see so the wall that goes around there, how that's built.
It's there. It's.
It's in the
Yeah.
application? Okay, all right.
What, oh, okay,
It's already in there. I'll pull it up.
okay.
This is a stamped. Somebody spent some time. That doesn't mean you might not have questions about it. I would suggest based on this, if you have things you want to resolve, look at the application. And if you have further questions, send them to Catherine to get them resolved.
Okay, so the other application we'll hear in about 27 days is a new submission for Green Drive. Mark Eversaw, Clyde and Kim and I went to this site March. We did a field visit, site visit. This is high tide. Just showing pictures of current conditions. This is the current proposed design. So there's some planting areas kind of on the northern side, right? Which would be the photo on the left here is looking north towards the Harbor Marina Club area. This is obviously around the dock, or sorry, the boat slip area. And then this is the southern, looking south down Massey Creek. And here's that tree that there's been some conversations about in the past.
Can you go back to that for a moment?
Yes.
At the site visit, the area between the bulkhead and the tree there, did that show vegetated wetlands in that reach?
I don't have my paper with me on that, but I do remember marking up certain parts where we found them, certain areas. I don't remember if they were between the tree and the bulkhead.
On the other side of the tree, there was some, but it looked like they had excavated the area behind the bulkhead. So
That whole area.
it's clear cuts. So whatever was there, I mean, there is some limited vegetation there in certain areas.
What were you seeing?
Surface, there was a dock, there was a cattail, and there was a sweet flag. On this side of the tree was the sweet flag.
Down here.
Yeah, down in there. But the walkway on the north side was surprising. Well, I guess it wasn't there when you guys, they had to stop. But yeah, this, we should probably give a background for Stephen. I don't know how much
Yeah,
you knew.
I've got more background to give.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
Let's let
Go ahead
Catherine
with your
finish her
background.
piece.
All right.
Right. So the only thing that the applicant did respond with, again, this is part of the JPA that you can find on the VMRC website, is that during the period between the stop work order and today, erosion has continued landward of the wall, threatening the survival of an existing tree, allowing tidal water to erode landward of the bulkhead. Additionally, some wetland vegetation has naturally established itself in the area and is now subject to tidal intrusion. They also mentioned that the application indicates existing grades and elevations as of the date of the survey, which I think was done in like November of 2022. So it's like 6 months old, so it's still pretty recent. The mean high and mean low lines indicated that the JPA are at the face. Wait, sorry, let me say that again. The mean high and mean low lines indicated, so the blue lines you see here in this image are at the face of the wall based on the evidence provided by the owners from 2018.
2018?
That's what I know.
Oh, okay.
Again, this information is on the VMRC website. It will be captured in a staff report. I will provide in a couple weeks.
So Catherine, I have some things to add to this. You want to
I'm done with,
yeah, can you put up what I said?
oh yeah, sorry, 1 second. Sorry, if you want to do any prefacing,
Nope.
feel free. Okay, sorry, hold on 1 second.
So the only preface I would have here is this is just additional information that has been gathered over time. It's not really a good time to discuss it. It's just these are things that you may want to consider going.
Yeah, we've got new board members that haven't really. Sorry.
Yeah.
Really we are 2 years later.
So just a brief history in time. The Sands purchased this property in 2014. The boathouse failed sometime in 2020, plus minus. They proceeded with wetlands construction without a stop work order was issued. The Sands applied for a permit. We later found out that the land on which the construction has occurred is not actually owned by the Sands. Actually,
They have cleared that up since then.
they actually own it now?
Yes,
Oh,
sorry.
Thank God, skip that.
Again, that was gonna be in the staff report.
Woo!
Wonderful.
That just happened this week.
Glad that has been resolved.
Wow.
So, on March, what, 13th?
Yeah.
The Fairfax County Wetlands Board approved a modified permit. The Sands appealed that permit to VMRC. The Sands then withdrew that permit appeal. And they submitted the new permit application that will be before us in April 10th site visit. As Catherine described, staff sent comments to the Sands, and we have some response to those comments. That's the general outline of history. Can you show the next slide, please? Well, again, the Sands purchased the property in 2014. The county has a pretty good aerial record of the entire county. About every 10 years, you could go through and look. And I would point out that the area north, by the way, straight up here, if you look pretty closely, you can see the area north of the boathouse. There is no boardwalk, and it appears that there's a short section of potential boardwalk south, and the rest is obscured. But it's important to note that there was no boardwalk. Next slide. So this is like the violation itself. The photograph on the lower left-hand side is the area north of the boathouse. Note that the bulkhead is completely failed. VIMS came out, found vegetated wetlands in that area. In addition, in that lower left-hand photo, you see that the boathouse itself wall has eroded. In the next photo, with the collapsed boathouse itself, if you look on the front-hand side of the boathouse and on the right side, you can see that erosion has occurred, and you're unable to confirm that there was or was not vegetated wetlands at that time, because the Sands proceeded with the construction you see on the right, which now got us to this situation where we have vegetated wetlands on both the north and the south side. Next line. This is the 2013, excuse me, the March 13th permit that was used at the public hearing. This drawing was accepted except for the south catwalk and the confirmation of the total wetlands area. There's a few other requirements, but note there is no request for a north catwalk on that. There is for the south, and the board rejected that. And they also asked for the wetlands to be mitigated. Next slide, please. An approximation of the jurisdictional tidal wetlands. Catherine, I believe we asked for the PE to confirm that area. Did we ever get a response to that? I believe you have.
And now the mean high and mean low lines have changed,
I
so.
was just gonna, my comment on that, one of the earlier slides you showed the blue lines on the Not matching the screen line?
Yeah, so the new application, they say it's behind the bulkhead. Of course, the bulkhead is higher than the original bulkhead. But, yeah, yeah.
Also, there's the areas on either side of the boathouse are filled. So if you take the March 13th or the December 22nd, 2022 PE drawing, just fill in what appears to be the area between mean high and mean low, you get about 500 square feet of jurisdictional wetlands. This is a 20,000 square foot lot, so we're talking about 5% of the, much of this type of wetlands area. Next, please. Go ahead. So this new application has added a catwalk to the north, catwalk to the south. It eliminates the south wetlands area, reduces the tidal flow capacity, has what appears to be less mitigation area than is shown on the PE drawing, but it does protect the tree. And so that's what we're also modifies how the tidal flow moves back and forth. Next. So, Darrell, this is my understanding of this, that when this comes forward, we'll have 4 basic paths. We can approve the permit as submitted. The citizens could still sign the previously modified permit. I don't believe it's expired. Do you agree, Mark? It hasn't really expired.
That's probably right. Yeah.
So that could obviate the whole need for this. We could issue a modified permit as we did today, or according to the MRC, we could reject the new permit application altogether and issue a restoration. Next. So that sounds simple. This is a more complicated flow sheet of what we would have to go through to get through those different options. Not sure this will happen, depends on the staff report, but that's what we may be looking at. Next. This is the 1972 photo. Restoration language in the regulations indicate that you can restore it to pre-development conditions. This is pre-development. That does not mean we would have to do that. We could have a much lesser restoration order than as we go back to this 1972 condition.
Question on that.
Yes.
How would that be possible since some of that area that's sloping to the water belongs to the HPRC?
But that's been resolved. Is that right, Ken?
It is with the bulkhead. But you'd have to continue to grade down into territory that still belongs to the HPRC.
Yeah, look, no comment. Yeah, I've tried not to really discuss these.
Yeah, I don't think we're going
Next slide, please. A presidential restoration order could be much simpler. Removal of the catwalks, restore to the contours shown by the PE, modify the bulkhead as originally proposed, and then typical other types of requirements. However, restoration orders are a little different. They generally have a requirement for a signed contract to actually do the restoration. You could potentially consider a bond or letter of credit, and also a civil charge. I'll get to that in a minute. Next. Permit modification could essentially look to protect the tree, but return to the conditions the board previously approved, or any other conditions that the board decides it would like. Next. As we did today, it's possible that you could ask for professional monitoring bond, a letter of credit, and so on. That's supplemental information. So what I would really like to ask the board members to do is read this document. It's old, but it's the guidance we have. And to really understand what's coming forward here, I would suggest read through this carefully. And if you have questions about the application, which you have, by all means, send it to Catherine. Catherine will be writing a staff report that tries to address this. And
This presentation.
it's just been done in a public meeting, yes, part of the public record.
So I guess one of the things when we met with Lydia Sands, is her big thing was the hole behind the bulkhead. Because their original application, so that the areas where they dug out to build the bulkhead. Their original application, for some reason, their contractor put that no fill would be placed behind the bulkhead. And that was her big concern with the permit that we gave her, that we wrote. Her concern was that, well, the kids are gonna like break a leg in this thing. And so she was very concerned about that. And I think that's why she kind of proceeded with the further, plus this walkway that they built between the violation and so they continued and built that bulkhead after the stop work order.
Just a little further context, those tiebacks were another thing they weren't sure what to do with, or what they were committed to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and there still are no tiebacks on the
On the
southern
other
end, the
side,
tree
yeah.
side. So that wall is freestanding, which is not.
I think those are new tiebacks. I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, they look pretty
On the-
new when they.
they're new
So
on
they
the
probably
upper
put
end.
them when they did the wall.
Yeah, I
right?
think they were intending to backfill.
Did I hear you correct that the catwalk left picture and the tiebacks were installed after the stop work order?
Yes.
Catherine, I'm not able to confirm that.
I was gonna say, ask them that, and that's what I read earlier, that they are.
Well, the pictures
Adamant.
when you guys sent the stop work order, it wasn't there.
Right, but there were 3 days in which between I
Okay.
sent the stop work order and they may have received it in the mail.
Gaia.
So I just want to be cognizant of the US Postal Service and the fact that they need their time to do their business. Okay. So that's
That
on the
was her
agenda.
biggest concern. So we, you know, we talked to her about options, or sat down with her and just said, there's some options. Is there a way you can sign the permit and we can figure out a compromise or something? And her big thing was, my kids can't be stepping in that hole. Go back there.
Two quick questions. If more vegetation were to establish itself in the interim, does that extend the jurisdiction?
Well, we're not so sure that
Wait,
where
wait,
they,
wait, let's,
Just by hypothetical.
could we ask that
That's a-
question
that's a
of
Mark
Mark
question.
from the MRC?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The question is, let's say that was completely barren where it's underwater now, and during this application process, a bunch of cattails established themselves. Does that extend jurisdiction and change all of this?
You might change it from non-vegetated wetlands to vegetated wetlands, which is your jurisdiction to 1.5 times the tide range. If the proper plan, they would have to be on the state list of what makes a tidal wetland.
And then that, in the presentation, there was that green, where is the current jurisdiction? Where does that come from and is that available to us?
It's the March 13th permit application. It's the one we approved.
Okay. That was in there.
It was in the
It's in there,
JPL.
but there was no area. We've been asking them for an area, and I get that. So even if they were to sign the existing permit, the permit that we approved said you have to give us a stamped deed drawing saying this is the area.
Yeah, when I wrote the staff report for the first permit, I had to make some assumptions about that vegetated wetland area because the information was not made available to me.
Yes.
This was, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this was also like high tide.
So I would suggest reading the application very carefully. And you seem interested in what's going on the south side here. The applicant's latest application shows photos of this area prior to the violation, prior to the collapse. You will see there is a visible gap between what was left of the bulkhead on the south side and the rear. So I can't tell you if it was as wide as this or not. I would suggest just look at that closely, and I think you'll see that you really already had some start of not vegetated wetlands. And the real difference here is once it's vegetated, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but if it's vegetated, there's two things that happen. One, it extends our jurisdiction to 1.5 times. And in the area of mitigation, can ask for either payment or mitigation on site. As permit, that's what we did. We didn't tell them that they couldn't put in the boardwalk on this side. We told them that if they did that, they had to build additional wetlands to mitigate that. By the way, is what is extant on the property just to the south of this.
So the permit application that you have, that drawing for the new one, just the work going off property to the north. Do they have approval from?
To the right.
No,
She's
to the
saying up
left.
here.
To the left. Do they have approval to do that?
Is that really the property line?
I mean, they're also,
And they're extended on both sides, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
You might own that piece on the south, but the north side, probably the property owner. Putting the mitigation.
Catherine, did you just receive this? This didn't come with the application, did it? Just a response?
yes, this came in with.
Because
the
this
week-
came in after the 230716 was.
Yeah, no.
submitted.
Remember, I sent comments like end of April,
Yeah.
and they were working on it, and I said,
This is on the March 23rd.
and there was another.
That is the property line. Must be a mercy. We'll have to have something from the owner that says it's okay.
We found out that it's a man-made canal, so we're out of the loop altogether.
Oh.
Not state-owned submerged land.
Oh, but it was made in the freshwater marsh.
Which is not state-owned either. So no, we're out of it.
All
It's
right.
from the marina down some number of lots below the sands. It's all kind of man-made, man-enhanced.
1960s, I think.
Red tree.
The
Oh,
reddish
that-
one?
That I think is where the excavation is.
So this is showing fill essentially all underneath the boardwalk. Entire boardwalk,
that's
except
what they want.
for the south area.
The back,
No,
back run fill.
yeah, but that's not the case. That's not really the case, Brian. Because they've already backfilled all the existing
Understood.
area.
To match the pictures.
It doesn't matter. Carol, what did you do? From the site visit that we just conducted, you don't have a picture of that, do you?
Tree.
Well, you can see some film next to the tree, a little bit.
Yeah. This area here, that's all been backfilled already.
Okay, I can see.
There's backfill all to one way. And so to Kim's point, when we went out for the stop work order investigation, we observed vegetation in this area. So the boardwalk couldn't have been there. Wouldn't have been able to see it.
3-day period. Okay.
No comment.
Go back to that.
Yes.
This one.
So if you look at what we approved, what did we approve?
That's different, yeah, that's different.
So
No walkway, no catwalk.
we approved this,
Yes.
all right? We did not approve this or this.
And the tree was a larger mitigation. Some other
The
mitigation.
mitigation we showed was like in this area.
Yeah.
But we said you can put it anywhere you want, just get the area. Mark, can I just briefly ask you, how common is it to issue restoration orders?
I've asked everybody that's working at VMRC now, and we've come up with one. I think it was in York County, some number of years ago, but it's not very often. I've never seen one.
What was there before? It's not, is that a catwalk? It looks like plywood back in 20.
It was a bulkhead.
No,
Oh,
he's
and there
talking
was
about
a
the
cat.
walkway.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
looking at that. It looks like plywood.
Yes, I think that's all it
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
And the
I
plywood,
see that gap you're talking about. Okay.
yeah.
Over there, it looks like there's a gap. It might even be under here as well.
It'd be nice to have a compromise.
So I think generally the Fairfax County Wetlands Board would like to approve the kind of thing we would have approved had the permit you showed before they began construction. And so just, and generally, not generally, I can't think of a time when we ever attempted to be punitive, fine, or anything to do. So just generally in the past, my experience on the board has been try to approve what we would have done without all this history. However, can't go on forever.
we tried to see if her biggest concern was the fill, that maybe there's a compromise there. Walkways, we could compromise, but if she came in with an application like this
So I,
today,
I'm not going to try to speak for the county attorney,
true,
but keep in mind, we have the option at the close of the hearing, to keep the hearing open for 30 days. And may ask for assistance in interpreting the rules and regulations from the county staff beyond what we've been able to do tonight. I will say, I really want to get this resolved.
Okay,
so Catherine, can we ask them, based on the new applications, so new applications what's coming in, right? I guess I'm just trying to figure out process for that. We have the old one. It's still open. We still have to consider the new one, is that
Since they didn't accept the permit,
right?
that's an entirely separate issue now.
Okay,
This is a new application
This
and
is
a
a new
new
app-
hearing and a new project.
I think we could probably refer to the
Oh, sure, yeah. I
old,
mean, you know the history.
yeah, for the
You know, it's the
history.
same
and-
property. But this is a different application that'll take a different vote.
Can only take action on this current,
Right.
this current image and the information that's on the VMRC website for this permit number.
You've taken your action on the old one.
okay, but the problem is she's showing these walkways as existing.
Yeah.
But they're existing under violation.
Right.
So I maybe another, just fine point, but we cannot tell the applicant how to build their project. We can disapprove it, we can give them a modified permit, but we can't force them to sign that. However, we can issue a restoration. So we have to do. Which is the only reason it's on the table here.
Well, okay, so just process-wise, we could deny this application,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
And so if we did that,
The violation.
I'm still trying to get rid.
Yeah, and then if we deny it,
Then you could start the 30-day clock on having a restoration hearing. Can't have a restoration hearing that same day. You can say, we're gonna have a restoration hearing and we're giving you 30 days notice.
advertise this as the hearing only, or do we advertise it for a restoration as well?
Did it as the hearing.
Okay.
What happens if we keep, okay. Just trying to figure out process here. I would like them to change those drawings and note
Careful,
that they're
careful, careful.
existing
We're
or
now just-
having
now-
a question that says those are existing under violation. They need to unpermit it. Something.
So we ask what's going to happen here.
Yeah,
Catherine's going to write a staff report.
okay.
We're going to show up at a hearing. We're going to pick one of those 6 options. And one of those 6 options might include keeping the hearing open for 3 days, at which time we could seek the advice of counsel.
So we would not take a vote at that time.
Correct. But must take a vote
Okay.
within 30 days or,
Within 30 days of when you close the hearing.
oh,
So you could leave the hearing open
haven't we?
till you would leave the public hearing open saying, bring us this, and this information. till they bring you that information, the public hearing can stay open. You close the public hearing, and then you have to make a decision in 30 days. That's in the code.
They could amend this. If there's any condition.
It's, when you say fix, they can fix it on the plan. They can't do any work. But they can, it's still an open, it's still an open project, yeah. They can change the plan.
We get a reminder on what constitutes land disturbance. That would include backfill.
So the minimum
That's what I thought.
minimum with the county is if you disturb 2,500 square feet, you have to get a land disturbance permit. And when we did the site visit, one of the RPA code compliance county staff members was there, and he said that looking at this wouldn't qualify for needing a land disturbance permit.
It is work in the RPA.
Yeah.
Yes, so.
Work in the RPA.
They're saying no land disturbance.
I continue to say that. Yes, on their submissions.
But they're going to be planting plants, which is land disturbance.
Backfilling.
I don't know. Planting plants. is
No, I don't
not
think
considered
so.
land disturbance.
Yeah, but they would have to grade.
Grading is land disturbance.
We didn't
But it-
fill.
it'll be- It's only 500 square feet.
And she wants to put a fill of whatever that, I can't read that, 3 and something.
Well, that would be
square feet.
excused, like RPA will excuse that, but you still have to.
Land disturbance is defined more as like the placement of fill and grading and how much of that physical land you're disturbing by either placing fill or grading it. And currently the county is 2,500 square feet. Yeah, I mean,
Requiring-
yes,
Yeah, but
eventually,
definition of land disturbance.
yeah. I mean, eventually they will have to get a permit, I think, to do for the disturbance that they're doing in the RPA. And that would be a separate group because this is just the wetlands board.
So, any more discussion about that? Trying not to discuss this, actually, just
So-
presentation of facts as best we
I
can.
just have one other question. How do we address the offsite? Have we requested information about the offsite work? I don't know, we can't permit that in their permit unless they have some approval. We talked about that one. It was
already there.
HOA property, right?
It's already there.
I know. That's existing.
It's already there.
And we know it is. Well, the mitigation is
It's a
not there.
fight between them and their neighbor.
I know, but we can't permit that.
We could,
Would be excluded from.
Unless they have
calculation.
approval. That's what came up when it was HOA property, right, with Mark? Was an issue? I'm just asking. 'cause it came
so,
up the last-
but think about what we're likely to do here in a modified permit.
What's me?
Mark is gonna kill me.
It's fodder.
So, first of all, this is not approved.
Right.
It's not approved in the past permit, right? The admonition is to cut down the bulkhead to mean high water, right? Mean high water. And leave an opening here of 20 feet. Well, that gets them off that property.
Yeah.
Same thing happens over here, gets them off that property. That's not really an issue for us. And then the only thing we're really asking to do in addition to that is between here and here, put in 500 square feet of tidal wetlands. This is not complicated. And it's, I'm arguing, stop that clock. No, and they can keep this
How many square feet is the grade that they're proposing? What's that say?
at 224, so it's roughly twice this. And that's my estimate.
I have an answer perhaps on why it extends over that way.
I'm sorry?
I might have an answer on why it extends that way.
In this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a protected tree.
We'll pass the property line.
Oh,
there's a chain link fence right where that ends.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be a property boundary. And I don't know that it lines up with the plat,
Um,
but you can see it in one of their 2018 photos. That the fence goes right. Water cuts into there.
If we were to do a modified permit, I think it becomes irrelevant. Because we're just removing that area. By the way, this is a total separate subject altogether. If you look at the historic photos of this piece of land, the land is accreted. Not eroded.
Maybe March again.
Well, I think part of the issue, I don't know much about it because I don't really vote, but I know they have to dredge or else that fills in completely.
Yeah, I'm sure they
So I
do.
think the concern is as you dredge, presumably it'll,
You know, obviously it did.
Yeah.
Right? But the adjacent property, I don't know, I'm beyond my expertise. So Catherine, do we have to vote on a set of minutes?
Yes.
So open is an option.
I have a motion to approve the minutes on the agenda. Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
I
You can't vote. You have to,
Be present.
now, what's the word?
Abstain.
Was it?
Abstain.
Abstain. Thank you. You weren't there.
Okay.
All right, we got one.
I abstain.
Okay. That was it.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
I'm going to close the meeting.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is closed.
All right, Dean, thanks so much. Mark Borey, thanks. Talk to you all soon.
See ya.
All right.
Thanks, Kitty. Night.
Thanks, everyone.